Hey, I'm Tim from Circuitous Effects, and you're watching Defining Circuit. Defining Circuit is a periodic interview series where I chat with fellow creators in the music world about what inspired and defined their passion for building, the moments, ideas, experiences, and even the circuit that sparked their drive to create for musicians. This time, I'm joined by Kevin Shone from Shoneswood. Kevin, thank you for taking the time out of your day to chat. Why don't you begin by
Absolutely.
telling us about yourself and how you got into making pedals?
Sure. Well, I am a lifelong guitar player. Never fully made it. And that's okay. Uh, Started doing rough carpentry in my late 20s and grew a beard in my mid 30s and started making beard combs for the distinguished gentleman.
Nice.
That led me to start using skate decks, posting stuff online on Instagram and selling a whole ton of stuff. And then a stranger in Quebec, Canada, reached out and asked me if I'd build him a skateboard enclosure.
Crazy. Okay.
And that one enclosure, that's what got me started.
So even back though when you were making combs, you decided to go the skateboard deck route, right? Is that
Yeah, I've always been interested in skateboarding since I was a kid. I wasn't good at it, so that's when I picked up a guitar, but
yeah,
I've always loved skateboarding and just the culture and the music, the artwork. So yeah,
that's awesome.
here
Yeah.
I am.
And so the first enclosure that you made, was that just the enclosure or did you actually get into the circuit part of it?
That was just the enclosure. Now, I'll be frank with the audience. I don't design circuits. I never have and I never will. That's not my interest. That's for all you guys to do. Much smarter people than me. I have had a few people design simple circuits for me that I try to keep a sort of sense of originality with the tone that matches each pedal that I make.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I made that one enclosure for a now buddy on Instagram. And lo and behold, another stranger on Instagram reached out to me one day and asked, "Hey, do you want to learn how to solder a circuit?" I mean, a complete stranger.
That's crazy. Yeah.
He sent me everything I needed, parts wise, to start soldering. All I needed was my own soldering iron. So
Okay.
I sat up till about 3 a.m. one Sunday, drinking beers with this guy over Skype, and he taught me how to solder.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting ride. Again, another stranger reached out to me from, I think it was Memphis, Jordan from Pine Box Customs, which
Okay.
sadly he's left the game, but
Yeah.
he reached out, wanted to collaborate on 4 custom overdrive pedals. So I did that with him. He no longer wanted the circuit, so he gifted it to me and rebranded it with my logoing and
Okay.
whatnot.
Crazy.
And now that's when I really got started. So
Okay. And then one of the ones that you put out quite often is Mean Prick, right? That's like kind of
yep,
a staple. Is that one of the circuits that came from that collaboration or is
that was a simple design from Kevin at Sound Slice Effects.
okay, cool.
He was the one that actually taught me how to solder.
Okay. So that's incredible that just random guys reached out and then it launched all of this stuff.
The internet is a
Yeah.
the internet is a crazy place.
Yeah. So we were talking offline a little about like how, the interest, of course, of pedals in general, ebbs and flows, right? That's kind of the natural course of business. But for some reason, and I think I know why, I mean, you've got a really unique take on enclosures and using skateboard decks and all of the detail that you put into the work that you do. Tell us a little about the interest that people have for that and how that's sort of continued to inspire you to go on with this sort of work.
Well, that's an interesting question. A lot of people, I think, they look at it like they're skateboards, and I don't really look at it like they're skateboards. I look at it
Okay.
as an art form. It's just wood.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people making pedals out of wood. It doesn't matter that it's a skateboard. It's just the medium that I chose. I love the color. I love the graphics.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of people making furniture and all sorts of things out of skateboards, but they're laminating them and it's all just about the color of the plies. But for me, visually, it's whatever deck inspires me visually to make something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like to keep it that way.
And then you just started making not too long ago pedal stands, right? Out of decks.
Yeah, well, I like to try to use up as much material as I can. So I used to get free decks all the time, thrashed old decks that nobody wanted. And that's kind of dried up for the most part. So I've been buying them used off of Facebook Marketplace. Okay. So I'm paying for it. I don't charge that. So if I buy a full deck with trucks and wheels, cost me $50. Yeah. I don't upcharge on my pedals. My pedals are just whatever price that I put them at. But I don't like wasting stuff. So yeah, those little stands they're just a little fun thing to have.
Yeah. I mean, they're super cool looking.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Well, I'll say this too. My pedals are art first and then pedals second. So, and I think that making a little stand for them, then if you don't use it, you can display it on a shelf or in your jam room or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So I kind of alluded to it earlier when I talked about people being interested in your stuff, but tell us about the moment, I guess, that you decided that this little experiment of making enclosures, maybe using some circuits that someone sent you, et cetera, kind of moved from just kind of I'm going to try this a couple times into I'm going to keep doing this forever.
Because I'm an idiot. It's something sometimes you just start something and you don't want to just stop. It's us being musicians, we all know it's like our creative outlet. So I don't play guitar anywhere near as much as I used to.
Yeah.
And I'm not right now. I just started a new job 6 months ago, so I'm not building anywhere near as much as I used to. But it's still my creative outlet. And you can't just give that up.
Yeah.
Like if you're a lifelong, let's say you've played guitar for 30 years, you're not just going to stop doing it one day. You're still going to keep your gear and you're still going to keep playing. So that's what keeps me going.
That's cool.
And people keep buying them. So I mean, maybe not a lot, but at least right now.
Still coming in. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what keeps me going doing it.
That's cool. I talked a little about the detail that you put into your work. Offline, we were talking about how I actually got an enclosure from you to use in a pedal project that I had. And, I need to, I guess, point out, too, that there's a few of us who kind of looked at the pedal world and said, how can I maybe do something a little different, right? So we all make enclosures out of kind of our own personal interests and things like that. And I was wondering, as you've been a carpenter for a long time and your skills, at least as far as I'm concerned, are super top notch. How has your work changed since maybe the first enclosure you made until now? Have you had any ideas that have changed or processes that have changed that make it easier or more efficient?
Well, yeah, I've built maybe 300 plus enclosures. Like you do refine the way you do things. And I have my simple setup. I mean, mathematically, everything's easy. I know exactly how to build them just so much faster now. Yeah. I mean, they still take a lot of time, but one of the big things for me was switching from shielding paint to using shielding tape, the copper shielding tape.
Okay, yeah.
That was a huge thing for me. The paint is caustic. You have to wear a big respirator.
Yeah. I remember talking to you early on about the best way to shield a non-metal case, and you brought up the paint, but then we had a little discussion about the tape and stuff. So that's definitely a cool change, I think.
Well, for anybody, if you can get away from the paint, I suggest it because it takes a long time. It has its purpose, but it's not a good product for what we do.
Yeah.
And I can sit on a Sunday morning and shield a pedal in a couple hours while I'm drinking coffee, watching some rando American crime show, which I watch a lot of rando crime shows from America.
That's hilarious.
I am Canadian.
Have you ever got into or tried the CNC process with some of your pedals to like put something into a jig and just have it do everything for you? Or are you still doing everything by hand?
I haven't. I had been asked about that when I was making beard combs. Mm. There's a difference between handmade and machine made.
Yeah.
And as a carpenter, I always call myself a rough carpenter. I'm passionate about using my hands to do these things rather than like, could I buy a small CNC machine, make one and still charge the same amount of money, which then I would make more money? I could.
Yeah.
But that's just not what I'm into.
Yeah. Cool. What's in the future then for Shoneswood as you're going forward? I know times are a little slow right now because of work, but do you have any plans for anything new coming up? Or if you had like a bunch of time and resources and also income coming in, what would you do next?
Well, I'm always trying to think of something new to make that in some way revolves around guitar playing or music room or whatever. I've got a pedal that I've finished up. It's ready to go for a collaboration with a guitar builder in the States.
Mm.
If I can give a shout out to Steve Barrick at Wooden Strings.
Yeah.
We've got another Great Canadian Pedal Board giveaway. I think the boards are worth upwards of $4,000 as the grand prize.
Yeah.
So I've got another pedal. I still have to build it. I started it yesterday to go on that board and just kicking around, waiting for new decks to come in for the artwork to inspire me to just keep going.
That's cool. Yeah. So someone buys a pedal from you. Is there something that you hope they get from that experience?
That's interesting. As I said, I don't sell too often because beauty or art is in the eye of the beholder. So not everybody is going to get the same effect off of one of my pedals as I do building it, right? So I hope they just find some kind of inspiration in the tone. Now, these circuits are a bit different than you'd normally hear.
Yeah.
They're either a little trebly or they're not fuzzy enough or the mids are a little different. So I just hope that people find some kind of inspiration. Now, that's how I am. I have a lot of pedals. It's up to me to be creative with them.
Yeah.
So I want them to be excited, first of all, visually, that they want to use them, yes, but they want to like look at them as well, like a painting or a picture on your wall that you really like.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I want first.
Yeah.
And then I want them to get into using it and be creative and play with them with different pedals. And for instance, the Mean Prick, I love with a Digitech Ricochet, so I can drop tune it.
Yeah.
I love that with my Strat. To me, sounds super cool. So it's just about playing with them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Kevin, this was super cool of you to join us today. And thank you very much for, again, taking time out of your workday and telling us a little about yourself. And this wraps up another episode of Defining Circuit. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this conversation, stick around. More interviews are on the way where I'll keep exploring all of the things that define why we do what we do. Thank you for watching. See you next time.